What was that with your fingers, John Luke? Just doing this 2, 1. Oh, you're counting us in. Okay, sorry. Okay. Oh, hey, people. It's the DJ Preps Football Preview Show. Brad and Dylan. That probably has our names across the thing there on the screen. And so I'll get to that, John Luke. Dang, chill out. Okay. Hey, welcome to the second edition of the DJ Football Preview Show for 2021. Going to be week 3 of the high school football season. And so Dylan and I, as always, will have 3 big games to look at. We'll break them down, go through the keys to the game. We'll have the Double Treble Award. We'll make predictions, all that fun stuff. First things first. Here we go, John Luke. Our sponsor, Pizza Doctor. Thank you for sponsoring us, number 1. And number 2, if you haven't had Pizza Doctor, you need to go check them out. I mean, they've got, of course, sausage and pepperoni and all the pizza that we all know and love. And they've got some good, really good specialty pizzas. Like today, we've got the Alfredo chicken pizza, which we've kind of laid into already for the show. But yeah, go check them out at Midtown Pointe here in Tupelo. And great pizza, great prices. Go check out Pizza Doctor. And now let me put this over here, and let's get into the show, Dylan.
Let's go.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Oh, let me get relaxed. Okay. Hey, let's go over last week's predictions. Am I still in the screen there, John Luke? Whoop, what about now? Okay. That's John Luke behind the camera. That's John Pitts chortling off to the side. Last week, we both went 3-0, Dylan, so I'm not behind yet. You did have the closest pick. You picked Nettleton 42-35 over Mooreville. That was a 37-34 game. You had another pick that was pretty close, the Itawamba Albany.
Yeah, it was. I think I picked like 35-21, and it ended up being like
35-14 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Neither one of us was even close on the Skunk Bowl. 2-0.
Yeah.
So we've had a 5-3 game and a 2-0 game. I don't know what's next. 3-2.
3-2.
7-6. I don't know.
Something. It's going to be one of these 3 games we talk about this week is going to be that way. So.
Brad, can you survive another 3-2 game?
My PTSD might kick in if that happens again. Okay, well, we've got 3 big games to look at this week, so let's start with Mooreville at Amory. Now, both of these teams are 0-2, Dylan, but that record's a bit deceptive, I think. I mean, especially look at Mooreville. They got a 10-point loss to a good Booneville team and lost on a last-second field goal to Nettleton last week. Amory's opened up with a couple of tough teams. So, I think these are 2 good teams and should be a good game. Let's look at the keys to the game. Key number 1, Amory's got to defend that air raid offense that Mooreville runs and runs well. I mean, you look at the quarterback, Dawson Phillips, in just 2 games, he's got 701 passing yards. And, I mean, they're just going to sling it around, man. And they got Jacob Scott, who first-year receiver, and he's tearing it up out there. And, can Amory defend that? Because they've had a little, they've given up some points this year.
Yeah, right. And we talked about it. I think they opened the season with Itawamba, and I can't remember who they played last week, but Caledonia.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
2 pretty good teams there. That's I think it's been able to find some success through the air, and so that'll be obviously important. But key number 2 is for Mooreville's defense is to load the box against a very tough running back, one of the area's best running backs in Charleston French there at Amory. He is, I would say it's almost an understatement to say that he's the focal point of that Amory offense.
Yeah, because they haven't done a whole lot outside of him offensively.
Yeah.
Really.
And so for Mooreville, we're talking about a defense that gave up 44 to Booneville, 37 last week to Nettleton. Both of those offenses at times can be pretty good, but it's a Mooreville defense that's got some work to do. And so if you're trying to have a good week this week, it's going to be loading that box and forcing Amory to break in their new quarterback and make him throw the ball. So
right, new quarterbacks and new receivers there. So and then finally, key number 3, Mooreville's starting middle linebacker is named Crimson Rock. Now, if you listen to our podcast, Prep Rally, which we'll also have an episode of that today, we talked a lot during the baseball season about this kid for Amory, Bo Rock. Now, I don't know if these 2 are related. I do know that apparently Bo does not play football for Amory.
No, I think he used to. But he may not do.
He's not on the roster.
Yeah.
So we could have had Crimson Rock versus Bo Rock, but
is Bo's little brother Ace? Is he playing?
So. I didn't see him on there either.
So there's a lot of the Rock foundation there is pretty good.
Yeah, Crimson Rock. And he's having a pretty good year. He's got like 9 tackles so far. Okay, let's move on to the predictions now. I'll go first on this one, Dylan. like I said, two good teams, even though they're both 0-2. I think could be a close game. I mean, if Amory can just play some defense and not let Mooreville, just go crazy with that air raid, they'll have a shot. But I am going to go with Mooreville in this one, 35-27.
I like that. I did not obviously confer with you on the scores, but I actually picked Mooreville as well, and I went 35-28. I wrote it down on the sheet, and I realized you just wrote yours down too. So,
yes, I did.
So we were 1 point off there. So I kind of priced this right to you there with
you did,
28.
$1 over.
Yeah. So,
okay.
But Mooreville's. I looked at it a while ago. Mooreville's 0-4 all time against Amory, which I don't know if that's necessarily shocking when you think about the history, historically and stuff, but. But yeah, I think it's a close game. I think Charleston French is able to break off. I think he's going to have a good night against Mooreville's defense, but I think Mooreville's offense will just be just too much at the end. So
yeah. Okay, game number 2. We've got Shannon at Houston. Shannon 0-2. Of course, they lost that heartbreaker to Pontotoc in the season opener on the last-second touchdown. Then they got shut out last week by New Hope. Then Houston is technically 2-0, even though they haven't played yet. Their first 2 opponents were in quarantine or virtual learning. They had to forfeit those games to Houston, so they finally get to play against Shannon at home this week. Shannon beat them last year in overtime, so this could be a really good game. Keys to the game, key number 1, well, as I said, Shannon has played, Houston has not. Now, there can be some pros and cons to not having played yet, but I think if, I'm sure Baylor Dampier would rather have had a couple of games under his belt playing a team like Shannon, because they're fast and athletic, and your first game of the year against a team like that can spell trouble for you.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, Houston's had plenty of time to prepare for this game.
Yeah.
So they ought to know what to expect.
Absolutely, and that leads into key number 2, for especially like you said, Shannon's played before, and this is a really, really important question: is can the Red Raiders mentally refocus? When you think back to week 1, I was there for their loss against Pontotoc on last-second touchdown, where Shannon basically fumbled the game away. They had the game won, a miscue there late on a punt, gave Pontotoc a short field. Pontotoc goes 3 plays and scores as time expires to win that, and it kind of felt like demoralizing. And then and then they go get shut out last week against a New Hope team that Shannon typically fares pretty well against, and so. It makes you wonder where the Red Raiders are at mentally, and so it'll be big for them to kind of bounce back, because this Houston team is going to put up a fight, and so we'll have to see where they're at mentally as far as how successful they are. But
and then key number 3, and again, this is always the most important key. Sticking with the name theme for this one, Shannon has a player named Carmelo Loving. Doesn't it sound like the name? He's going to grow up to be an R&B singer.
Oh, absolutely.
And now we've got the new hit single from Carmelo Loving. It's called Barry White. You Got Nothing on Me. I don't even know if he plays. He's a sophomore.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, because I obviously covered the Pontotoc game the first year, and I had the Shannon roster right in front of me. Never even noticed his name, and until I saw this today. And then
great name.
I looked. Yeah, he's a sophomore, and on the roster he's listed at 5'4" and 155 pounds. So my joke for that is there's not a whole lot of love in there.
Well, I'll let you take the phone calls on that
one.
No. Okay, prediction time. You can go first on this one.
All right, yeah. So I was actually at the Houston-Shannon game last year where Shannon pulled that out in overtime. That was a game where Houston's quarterback, Red Parker, first injured his shoulder. Since then, he's had off-season shoulder surgery. We're just worked back from that. They say he's 100% healthy. Jalen Washington's a sophomore now in that deal. And with Shannon, I like what we talked about mentally, I've given Houston just a slight edge. I'll go Houston 34-32 with a healthy Red Parker.
All right. I also like Houston in this one. You mentioned Parker and Washington, who had a great year as a freshman at running back, and they've got some good guys on defense as well. So, yeah, I don't know if Shannon can get off the mat, they can make a game of it, but I'm going to give Houston the edge here, 24-16.
Wow.
Okay, game number 3. We've got Corinth at Tupelo. Corinth 1-1. They had to forfeit the game against Kossuth last week because of quarantine, but they're out now and good to go. Tupelo, of course, is 2-0 after wins over Lafayette. That was the 5-3 game, and they beat Saltillo last week 41-6. Keys to this game, well, of course, when you're talking about Corinth, you're talking about that wing T. So the first key is Tupelo's front 7 against Corinth's wing T offense, led by Chris Rogers at running back, Bronner Krajine at quarterback. And, that first game they played against Saltillo. Corinth had 603 total yards, 300 something, I forget exactly how many, 300 something rushing. Bronner had a good game as well, throwing the ball. But that Tupelo front seven is awfully tough and has shown itself already through 2 games to be one of the best defenses around. And the secondary is no slouch either. I don't mean to leave them out, but you're talking about Corinth, they're going to run it more than they throw it. But you got Romero Hampton, you got Jacarius Clayton up front, L.A. Ray, and you got the linebackers like Deion Shumpert and Tyler Vaughn. So, I mean, they dominated against Saltillo last week. I think they ended up with 7 sacks against a very mobile quarterback. So that'll be the huge thing to watch there. Key number 2, though, I mean, Tupelo may be even stronger than they have been because of key number 2.
Right, exactly. I certainly think they will be. When you talk about that secondary, I think some of the guys that's been playing, like Fred Adams, has kind of been called on to play both ways for Tupelo. At times, may not have to do so much this week, and they can kind of focus on one side of the ball. Because Tupelo's got some key players returning this week. Wide receivers Dalen Patton and J.Q. Witherspoon both are back this week. At wide receiver, so that helps their offense, helps Lake Reed and some of those young quarterbacks, kind of.
Yeah, him and Jeremiah Harrell.
Yeah, Jeremiah Harrell.
Sophomores.
Right, and so, these young quarterbacks getting some weapons back kind of helps them in that mold. And then also, even, I think the biggest help for a quarterback you can possibly have is to have a 6'8", 350-pound left tackle named Zay Alexander. And so he's back this week. I think he had a foot injury, or some sort of leg injury. Against Lafayette, they opted to hold him out last week against Saltillo, and now he's back for Corinth. So I think those additions there for Tupelo is just going to be huge, for that offense.
I think personnel-wise, this Tupelo is going to outmatch Corinth in this game. But we'll get to the prediction in a moment. We've got to do key number 3 first, which is, will Tupelo's new giant video board, which they just installed, and I hear is the biggest in the state at the high school level, will it have a kiss cam? I mean, how can you not have that during timeouts and quarters, between quarters and halftime? Just get a couple extra cameras out there, pan in on teenagers and make them feel awkward because maybe they're dating, maybe they're not.
Put it on the parents too.
Put it on the parents, and they can gross out their kids by kissing on the kiss cam. I think get somebody to sponsor it.
They could
win-win. Hey, if y'all do that, it's my idea. Okay, I want some commission.
And if McKinley Holland's at the game, he just got engaged.
Oh, he did.
So if you pan over to McKinley. I believe Lauren is her name, the fiance. You pan over to them, celebrate the new engagement. I mean, there you go. So,
oh man,
it's a really good idea.
I can't believe somebody's going to marry McKinley Holland. No, I'm just kidding. We love Mac.
Yeah,
we love him. He's great. Okay, prediction time now. Like I said, I think Tupelo outmatches Corinth, and I'm picking a bit of a blowout here, Dylan. I'm going to, because I love that defense. 37-13 Tupelo is my pick.
Wow. This is the widest margin of what I've picked too. I just think Tupelo's front seven, that defense may be the best in the state up front, and obviously the secondary is no slouch either. I think Chris Rogers is such a special talent at Corinth that he may break off a couple runs and maybe have some explosive plays. I just think it's not enough against Tupelo, and I think Tupelo wins 31-14.
There you go. So those are the 3 games to watch, and of course we'll have full coverage this weekend in the Daily Journal and at djournal.com. Let's go do the Double Trouble Award. We do it every week for the best 1-2 punch from the previous weekend, but today it's the Triple Trouble Award because, my goodness, Tisha